Have you ever set a goal for yourself that you thought might be too big? Have you ever had an idea in your head that you thought to yourself, there's no way that I could ever accomplish something like that? It started over a decade ago. Had this idea in my head, something that I wanted to do, something that I wanted to accomplish, but I thought to myself, you couldn't possibly accomplish that. It is way, way too big. There's so many reasons that you cannot accomplish this. Fellow Toastmasters, future guests, I made the decision 2 years ago to do an Ironman triathlon. I'm going to explain to you what that involves. And you can tell me, is it too big? The triathlon starts off with a little bit of a swim. Now there's various distances of triathlons, but as I mentioned, I'm doing an Ironman triathlon. I started off by finding myself a swim coach. Got together with my coach on the first morning. She asked me, she goes, "Can you swim?" I said, "Yes, I can swim." She's like, "Great, get in the pool and show me." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I get in the pool and I splashed around for about 30 seconds. And she said, "Jim, stop. You're just embarrassing yourself. Get out of the pool. You cannot swim." I was like, "Oh, well, that's a bit of a challenge because I'm going to be doing this triathlon. I need to be able to swim." She's like, "Okay." She goes, "Well, let's work on this. Let's start with some basics. First of all, Jim, this is a pool." I was like, "Oh, God. I see where this is going." All right. So we swam around for an hour, or splashed around for an hour. At the end of that hour, she says, "Jim, not only can you not swim, she says, you are afraid of the water." When I crossed that black line into the deep end of that pool, I wasn't shaking, I wasn't red, I was ghost white with fear, scared to death. We kept working on it, I kept improving, my confidence came up, and before I knew it, I was actually swimming with fins and a kickboard. But of course, in a triathlon, I found out that you cannot use any aids to help you actually swim. Nothing that is going to help propel you forward. I looked, I researched, I asked questions, I talked to everyone I know. What can I possibly do to get through this swim? They said, "Jim, the thing that you can do, the one thing that you can use, is learn how to swim." Look, that sucks. But I did. I kept moving on, I kept fighting, I kept working with it. Some of you know just how big of a struggle this was for me. Fellow Toastmasters, on June 30th, just a month ago, I was out in Boca Reservoir working on my technique. I have a friend watching my kick. She is in a kayak, I was in the water, having her watch my body roll, watching my breathing, how was I doing. As we were going along the shore, we ended up about a half mile away from the truck where we started. I looked up to her and I said, no. I grabbed another kayak and I'm talking to her. I was like, "I think I can swim back to the truck." She's like, "Jim, you've only swam like 50 yards total to this point at a time as we've been going away from the truck." I'm like, "I think I can swim all the way back." She's like, "Okay, you know?" And I did. I swam a half mile back to the truck. That day I said, "You know what? If I can swim a half mile, I can swim the full distance of an Ironman swim." That is 2.4 miles in open water. On the 4th of July, I did exactly that. We picked a point across the lake, crossed the lake 1.02 miles to be exact. And of course, obviously doubling that is not quite 2.4, so I picked a little pyramid path going back on the other side of the lake, 1.02 miles, and then a half mile back to the start-finish point. I swam, it was actually 2.6 miles that day. And yesterday, I went out on my own, because my friends don't want to play with me anymore. I went out on my own, and I swam 3 miles yesterday. No problem. Easy. Was my goal big enough? Maybe not. Then we get to go for this little bike ride. 2 years ago, I spent a lot of time on a bicycle, but never, just taking off and going for a long distance. My longest ride was continuous ride was maybe 5 miles, 10 miles, something like that. Well, then I did my first big ride at about 25 miles. It was okay. Got up to about 30 miles. It was great. I kept asking a lot of triathlon friends. They go, the Ironman bike is a lot longer than that. They're like, yes, it is. So after doing a lot of bicycle research, after talking to a lot of triathletes, active triathletes, I said, how is it going to be possible for someone like me to ride a bicycle 112 miles? It's like, you've got to be insane. Do you know what a current bike seat looks like on a competitive bicycle? It's like this big. I'm like, are you kidding me? Fellow Toastmasters, I have now done 3 rides over 100 miles. And let me tell you what, you learn a lot about chafing. It's not pretty. There's something else that I learned a lot about while doing this bicycling. Your wrist might go a little numb, your arm might go a little numb, your legs might start feeling a little funny. But I tell you what, being on a bicycle seat this big for 6 or 7 hours, other parts of your body go numb that I don't like. But that's okay. I'm not going to let that stand in my way of my goal. And then we get to go for a little run. As many of you could probably tell, I don't really have a runner's body, okay? I'm short and squatty. Runners typically tend to be tall and lean. So once again, I'm asking everyone, how can someone like me prepare to run 26.2 miles? It's through focus, determination, and preparation. So yes, fellow Toastmasters, on August 26th, 4 weeks from last Sunday, I will be swimming 2.4 miles, I'll be bicycling 112, and then I will be running 26.2 miles. And I'm ready. And I ask you, is my goal big enough? Fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Brett.